guys, it's Sue from Sue's Sparkly Stamping. I'm here to do a process video that I promised to do a long time ago and never got around to doing. Anyways, I'm going to show you shortly some cards that I made and then a technique called the Bokeh technique. I personally only learned it the last couple of days just to try something new. But most of the products that I'm using are all in the current Close to My Heart catalog. Anyways, let's get around to it. I'll flip the camera and you can like it or not like it and subscribe. Thanks very much. Bye. Hey guys, this is Sue, and as I mentioned, I am going to show you some cards that I've made in the last couple of days. Most of the stuff you can get in the current Close to My Heart catty. I will give you a demo. Anyway, this is the first card that I had actually copied from Gail Cross, except I added some more bling to it because I like bling. So if you can see, there's a bit of sparkle on the butterfly, and then I put some added sparkles here because, as you can see, I love sparkle. This one's pretty easy to put together, but I will show you quickly how to do that. I also designed this one here. Again, was made by another Close to My Heart rep, but I added some bling on it, which was the glitter paper here, and just my kind of style, I guess, very simple. I also made this one, which was 100% me. This one is very simple, but very elegant. It has some texture here with regards to the strip across with an embossing folder, and then I've obviously added some more sparkle. See? Anyways, this one I will also show you. And lastly, I made this one, which was the first time I've ever used the Bokeh technique to create the background, so it looks very much like a bokeh, like a blurred vision of something. And this is the one today that I'm going to show you how I came up with this. But again, as you can see, there's lots of couple of bling on there. And as I was saying, I will show you the technique to how to make the background look a mixture between the pinks and the blues. Not blues, greens. I think I use mint for this. Anyways, here we go. I'll get to it. So obviously, what we did was I cut this piece of waterproof paper, and I'm going to use some washi tape, or you could use masking tape, and I am going to stick it to the table just on the ends so that we can make sure it doesn't move while we blotch it up a little bit. And I'll show you here. Just put it on the edge. It might rip it a little bit, but it's not going to be on there for very long. Okay, then you grab one of your watercolor pens that obviously got water inside, and you would squeeze it so a lot of the water comes out and make this entire piece of watercolor paper wet, quite wet in fact, so that when you decide to add the color, it will start to move. And right now you can't see anything, but I'm making it pretty sodden so that we can get some movement once I start putting on the actual colors. So here, because I'm using a mint, I am going to use a little bit of this green and then again squeeze from the brush so some of the green lands on the paper, and then you would move it. So the plan is to move some of this, and depending on how much you want your color and how green you want it to be. In my case, my main color is usually the pink, but again, you want to make sure it moves really smoothly. And I hear, because you're going over afterwards with white, and you want the colors to show, you should definitely put a lot of color on your brush, and like I said, move it around a little bit, and then once you've got enough, then you can add the second color. So give me a second while I get a baby wipe, and I will drain off the mint color. Now I'm using the Close to My Heart set of watercolors. That's pretty easy going, and this will last a lifetime. I've not known anybody to ever run out unless you're a major artist, which I am not. I think I'll use the other width of the watercolor pen, hold on here, so that I can not mix the colors right now. This is, I think, the medium one. The other one was the thick. Again, they're still in the caddy. You can still get them. And now I'm going to add some pink so that I can get some different shades of color moving around here. Keep blotting like so. I hope you can see this because I've set my camera up so it's over my desk, but kind of get carried away when you start doing this to kind of, you know, create and then forget that you're actually filming, which is my usual thing. So as I'm saying, we keep moving, keep adding, kind of see where the watercolor lies and intertwine it a little bit. So we have a mixture of color, because once we bokeh this, you won't worry about if it blends nicely or not, because that's the whole point. And also you want it to dry with a little bit of strong color, because the white will definitely take out some of the color. Oh, look at that. Love it when I see colors blend. It's awesome. Now, for the camera, I'm going to dry this with just my embossing tool, but if you want, you can let it dry and just come back to it the next day. But in my case, for the likes of camera and filming, I am going to, so I'm going to add some more green because I feel like I've lost some of the green here. It's kind of gone very faded. Let's see if I can get some more color in there. Look at that. Beautiful. It's a beaut, isn't it? And like I said with this, you really can't go wrong. This, unless you're making chocolate brown, that's the only time I think it would ever go a little bit, maybe not your color, but maybe that is your desired color. In this case, because my paper was mint and then also the sugar plum color, kind of went with, like I said, the pink and the green on my watercolor palette. So here is, I'll show you. Look at that's beautiful. I used on this palette here, I used this guy, and then I also used this pink. And again, I'm guessing here, it's not 100%, but give it a go, and we'll be back shortly with regards to what to do next. Thanks, bye. Okay guys, I'm back. I used my embossing tool and I dried the watercolor colors on this, and like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect or like a Mozart of some sort, just enough for you to get the color blending, and that's what I did with this. Then, as I said, you go from this to this, and that is pretty cool. Now, the next part is the fun part. This is where you get to play with white pigment ink and a stencil. Now, I have made stencils just recently. I realized that I could do this with my Cricut. Close to My Heart now sells stencil sheets that are plain, and I followed a tip by one of my other Close to My Heart ladies. She said make them the size of 6x6, that way then they fit into these pockets that we have, envelopes that we use for our Close to My Heart stamps. So I did it, and I tried this one to see if I liked it. This was a funky kid background with the stars, and then I did one with different size circles so that I could see if I would use it, and this is what I ended up with. Now, like I said, you can use punch holes in paper and just try it. The stencil's a lot easier because you can reusable, but I figured I would show you this, and like I said, I made it using my Cricut, and it's pretty awesome. So I will show you what to do next. So you get your pigment ink. So I have White Daisy pigment ink, which is a sticky ink, and you can use it on the sample, and like I said, we use a stencil and we will dab. Now, I've seen other examples of how to make Bokeh stuff. But in this case, I went with this option. It takes time to dry, but that is okay if you have time. Now, so we'll open up the pad and we'll get the stencil. Now, with Bokeh, what you do is you have to do different layers, as you can see on this here. The layers are so that you can overlap the circles of different sizes. Now in this case, like I said, I made sure my ink pad was very sticky. I held down the watercolor paper and the stencil, and then I dabbed very heavily. Now, when I initially did this yesterday, my ink pad felt kind of dry, so I got my re-inker and I watered it back up again, which helped with the applying of this, because it can take a lot of time, and if you don't have a lot of patience like myself, it's kind of hard to, you know, be happy with the end result. And obviously you need to have patience, which I don't know if you know yet. I don't have that as much as some people can be, but you just keep dabbing, going around, and when you lift up the stencil to move it to another area on the watercolor paper, make sure you lift it fully up so you don't smudge, because sometimes this ink will get under the stencil and then rub on your card, and we don't want that, because then that kind of defeats the purpose. So I've done this one. I'm going to lift it up. See? Now, right now it looks like nothing, if you can see. I don't know if with the reflection, but it's just a normal white circle. And now what we do is we do a few more, and maybe I'll fast forward and you will see how it turns out. Okay, so watch this space as I do more. Do them in different shades too. You don't want it always in the one dark shade of white. That way it gives it dimension. And again, you can build this up on layers. Just know that pigment ink actually takes a while to dry, I've found. Even on my sample there, it still felt a bit tacky. But that's okay. And I'll do that. And what I will do is I'll trim off the edges, because I don't know if you can see on my watercolor, when I taped it with washi tape, it's left like a little white line. So I will trim that off afterwards, because obviously your card's however wide you want it. And as you can see as well, if with the white I did, I'll show you, it's now looking like it's the colors coming through underneath. Now we keep doing this again and again, like I said, and we will get some really good styles going here. I'm going to do this medium-sized one. I did this stencil because I know I will be using it for circles, and now I've started doing some of the stencil stuff. I was even wondering if maybe we did it with some of our texture paste, because that might be kind of cool, because it will give it dimension as well as giving it that that look, shiny versus matte look that you can get when doing these. Like I said, lift it up so we don't smudge. Now I'm also going to use, funny enough, the dabber for the smallest of the little circles. See? Do this, a few here, a few here. Just keep dotting it around. Again, different shades, because nothing ever looks the same. And I will keep doing different circles. What shall I do next? Maybe half of the big one here. I don't know if you can still see it. Probably hard to see, but I try to keep it in front of me, but also on the camera. So apologies if it disappears. And apologies if you just heard my husband burping. Alright, now I'll move it around, move the circles around, and again, just keep dabbing. It's a slow process, but I think the end result really makes it worth the while of just, you know, playing with this, because you're kind of in essence making your own paper by doing this. And I love it because it does make it look like it is a work of art and not necessarily a bulk card. I'm going to do this big one over this big space now, but I'm going to be very light with it, I think, because if you do that, it will look like a different shade, which is really pretty. Excuse me, fingers everywhere here. Now in this case, I might end up putting some more of the re-inker for the white on the ink pad, because it doesn't feel as sticky as it was yesterday, which made it a lot faster. Do I have any? Yeah, I do. Okay. Hold on a second there, folks. Oops, just dropped some ink on the floor on my tape gun. So again, you can get this close to my heart. It's just the exclusive re-inker for the sticky ink. And then I'm going to apply the pressure. Oh, that's just darker now. Look at that. It's so funny how if you just put a little bit of re-inker on it, it goes a long, long way. So, I'll just give you a heads up, everybody. This is my first actual, like, layout process video. So, I'm hoping I don't make a complete buffoon of myself. And hopefully it doesn't look too bad when it comes to the end result. So as you can see, it's still coming. Can you see? Just have a look at that. It's just building on layers. Probably going to put some more down this pink side. It seems it's quite bright. But I'm loving the effect so far. It's pretty awesome. How about this size over here? And just do half. Maybe make it super dark so that you can really tell there's a circle pop in there. Oh, look at that. It's pretty awesome. All right, so keep doing this until you get the desired result, I guess. So it is purely up to you how much pressure you apply. For me, I like more is less in some ways. I used to get told off when I did homemade ceramics how I would apply way too much paint. And I'm pretty known for putting more than needed on the piece of art. So, but I'm liking what it's doing right now. It's really got a really nice effect. Okay, I'll try one more, maybe the medium one down here. That way you get to see, and it'll probably be a lot darker, because I find what happens is this pigment ink will soak into the watercolor paper, and then it does give it another translucent look to it. So if you're looking for a lighter shade, and that's what we're doing. See, I'll just give you another look, because each layer kind of adds some color. Can you see how beautiful that is? It's pretty awesome, huh? I must say so myself. What do you think? Do we need to add some more up here so it's not as strong? Maybe I can use just my little circle here, because that makes a huge impact sometimes. And then we just get all these little circles all around. I love this. This is a new technique I just learned myself recently. I went on YouTube, looked at different ways of doing it, and there is other ways to do it, but this is kind of my preferred way right now, because I don't know, I liked the effect that it came out with. But as you can see, I've got some good coloring. I'm gonna do one more over this way, because I find this pink is a little strong on this side. So maybe if I do half a semicircle in a bigger and darker color, like a white. There we go. Gotta say, it's really pretty and personal. And then that way you get the bokeh effect. See? All right, so what I'm going to do next is, well, I'm going to close up my ink pad because it gets very dry very fast. And can you see how between this and this, you get the similar colors? Obviously, it's different because of the coloring I did before. I found when I did the initial one, I didn't apply a lot of color. I didn't know what I was going to get. the faint colors is nice, but I'm actually really liking the bold colors in here that's popping through those circles. So anyways, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. We're going to cut some silver cardstock and then stamp on top of. Now the problem with this is the bokeh right now is wet, so I will come back shortly with another sign of how I put it together once this is dry, because it's quite tacky right now. So speak to you soon. Hey, so welcome back. So while you were gone and I was finishing off my bokeh effect, what I found was because I used more color from the watercolor, this time the effect was a lot darker, and as you can see, the pink is quite strong compared to my original card. See, that's very, and this was because my original card here had I used very faint colors, whereas I thought this time I would try something a little bit more colored, but to do that meant you had to do a lot more layering of the white pigment ink to kind of do different layers, and because I found it was absorbed into the watercolor paper. Anyways, so now this is done, and most of it's dry. It's still a bit tacky, and it always will be because it's pigment ink, and obviously it might take a few days, but I did dry it with my heat tool. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to trim this a little bit more, so I take away these white edges that the washi tape did. And then from that I will measure to make the underneath with the silver, because Close to My Heart sells the silver, and I find people don't use it a lot. I don't know why, so I figured I would use it because I like to do stuff that people don't use to make it different. Anyways, so again, I'm going to trim off the edges, as you can see. This isn't my usual trimmer. My finger's already getting sticky. Excuse the mess here. I use my baby wipe to wipe it. I will say, when you use your stencil, definitely wipe it off straight off after the time you've used it with the pigment, because what will happen is the color will sink into the stencil paper. And now I will say I did try, and this can be cut with the Cricut, but I used, in this case, I used my punches because I have a billion punches from being a crafter for many years. So I use my different circles because that's kind of how handy it would be. But just wanted to let you know that you know the stencil paper is thick and sturdy and durable, but not too thick where you can't punch through with a punch. Okay, so now I'm just trimming off these little white edges and getting my fingers still a little sticky, see? Here's my baby wipe. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this, I believe. Let me see here. Again, I'm not used to this cutter, but I figured I would use it for my video. So this is 375. Looks like it's by 375, which is a square, which is perfect. So what I'm going to do is the silver cardstock. I'm going to get it so it is big enough, so it should probably be 4 by 4 to give it a nice edge. Now let's see what the sample is I have here. How big is this? Ooh, just under. All right, I'm going to need another piece. Hold on here. I carry an extra one. So what I'm going to do, because my original card was 375, I will make this cut 4 by 4, and then that way I can use it. Ah! See, look what just happened. Can you see? So I guess my ruler on my cutter picked up some of the white, pigment ink, and let me see if I can wipe it off. Yes, you can. Perfect. It's just white pigment ink, but I didn't want it to ruin my shiny paper, because I'm all about the shiny and the bling. Alright, so I'm going to do 4 by 4. There we go. Oh, it did it again. Look at that. I probably haven't cleaned this blade properly. Let's see if I can do it now. Anyways, enough with that. Now, Close to My Heart, as you already know, comes with prepared cards bases. This is the standard, pretty much even. Everyone knows it. I used this, plus I did a base. Now, I don't know if you know, but the great thing about Close to My Heart is we have cardstock that comes in 2 different shades, the lighter and then the darker. This is mint, as you can see. Hopefully you can, because it's very hard for me to see here. This is like a mint green, and then on the other side is more of a very, very lighter color. I think with my background, hold on here, I'm going to see what I prefer, if you can see the difference. Do I go for the light, or do I go for the dark? Ooh, that's a toughie. I think that I think I actually like the light on it more. So I think I'm going to try the light. My other card was a darker version. So I think it's a nice way to make it pop. And because we already know the square is going to be 4 by 4, as you can see, nice little edge to give it that pop, I am going to cut the base. And the base would always be just the size of a normal piece of cardstock minus a little trim around the edges. Let me see what this is right now. This is, oh, it's only 6 inches. So a normal cardstock would be 5 and a, I think it's 5 and a quarter. So I'm going to make this 5. Am I right? Let me see here. Let's put that down so I can always, I'm terrible with measurements. I'll see, if I'd have done that, that would have been too short. So let me see, it's, yeah, okay, it's 5 and a half, isn't it? That's why. Right, so I'm going to go for 5 and a quarter, because that way then it's just a small white trim. And we get it right. So I'm going to do 5 and a quarter by, let me see. It's my first time doing this, and I realize how many times I check my measurements all the time. By a 4, because it's obviously 4 and a quarter the base. So I'm going to do this by a 4. I'll straighten that up there. Make sure I get it up at the top. Again, using a new cutter, I'm not used to it. So again, stick this down. Makes a beautiful trim, so that you can actually give it a layout. And this is the great thing, because the cardstock bases aren't too thick, you can build a layer on a layer, which actually makes for a more solid feeling card. So what we're going to do, pretty much easy, is mount this all together now. And before I actually do that, I'm going to actually stamp on this piece of watercolor / bokeh look with the stamp set that I used, which was this one. Hopefully you can read that, Dandelion Wishes. Really good deal. In Canada it's only $14, just over 14 plus tax. But I think it's a really versatile stamp, and there's a lot of things going on about dandelions lately. I really like them, and I've seen a few tattoos and might be interested in getting one. Just don't tell my dad. Anyways, I will stamp on that. Now I'm using always make sure you use, when Close to My Heart put this piece of foam in, it's to give you a base at the underneath so it absorbs all the ink. And what I would suggest is I'm going to use pewter, if I can say it, pewter, there we go, as a base, because I like grey. I'm a big grey lover. It's kind of in, and then I put it on one of my blocks. I get it ready. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, I'm sure you have, heard of the huff technique. And that's what I tend to do, because it absorbs, I don't know what it does, but it takes away some of the bubbles and the air that can get into the ink when you're stamping, and then it makes it look hollow. So I've always learnt to do the, you just put it up to your mouth and huff on it, so it's got a bit more moisture, so it carries the ink further. So as you can see, I'm terrible for applying a lot of ink. And then I'm going to go, and then I'm going to apply it. Look and make sure it's straight. And it's got the style that I want. And then I'm going to apply lots of pressure. Again, the reason they give you this piece of foam on the bottom is so that it absorbs all the areas of the ink pad and the ink stamp. So I've stamped that. It's not bad looking, but again, I'll add to it because this is where we now do other things like embellish with us. I think, personally, I think I should have waited for more of the pigment ink to dry. It looks like a very faded gray, but to be honest, you know what? I felt that with my other card last time, and it's funny how once it dries, it actually does look better than what you imagine, because I think that's what I felt like with this one. Let me see. Yeah, I did. So give it some time to dry, and then it will definitely blossom into something out of this world. Now, obviously, I'm going to add with the stamps that it came with these cute little, like, remnants of dandelions floating away, so you can add a few of those. And then from that, you're good to go. All right, so you don't have to listen to me rabble on now. I will do that, and we'll hopefully fast forward. I'll use my little block. If I can find it on my desk. Oh, there it is. So again, just add some random ones of those so that it looks like it's stamp flying away. Just quick, doesn't have to be even that strong because there's so many of them and it's part of the effect. Right, now it's obviously given us lots of different mini size things of these. I thought we lost one last night but did not. Hold on. And little tiny ones, this one's cute. Definitely need one of these small blocks from close to my heart. They're the best. Because I don't want to have any edges on there based because my block was too big or something happens. Kind of annoying if that's the reason, you know. Just random ones everywhere. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it dry before I mount it on my card base, and we'll be back.